Good afternoon. Welcome to the Young Professionals webinar about the USCC's Young Professional Mentoring Program. We're glad that you're here. The USCC is an organization that's been around since the 90s, and we are the voice of the industry for composting and organics recycling. And we are happy to have more young people coming into our industry. My name is Linda Norris-Wald, and I am the membership manager. And I am going to kick this webinar off by introducing our Young Professionals program, which has been around for about 7 years, which is the same amount of time that we've had the mentoring program in place. And our webinar today is going to be run by our Young Professionals team, who you're going to be hearing from after you hear from me. And you'll get information about the deadline for becoming a mentor or a mentee in just a few minutes. So hold on for just a minute and we'll check and see if we've got most of our participants here. All right, it looks like we've got about half of the people, so we'll wait a minute or so before I introduce our Young Professionals team. All right, it looks like we've got a few more folks on here, so we're going to go ahead and get started since it is Friday afternoon. So I'm going to start by introducing the chair of our webinar committee. Hold on one second here. I am trying to advance my slide. It's not working. Whoops. Okay, here we go. So the chair of our webinar committee this year is Felipe Pedraza. He is a biologist with a PhD in biology and geosciences. He is a Brazilian composter, and he acts as a consultant and a project developer on manure and food waste facilities. He has been working on USCC programs as a member since 2018, and he has participated as a mentee on the USCC mentorship program. He is also developing new technologies to control, register, and take actions on composting piles. He won third place in this year's Emerging Composter Poster Contest at the Compost Conference, which was just held in January in Charleston, South Carolina. So I am going to turn it over to Felipe Pedraza.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Linda. Thank you. I want to thank you to join our webinar about USCC mentoring program. This webinar is a series of 4 webinars we are doing this year. Please see the presentation. During the presentations, everyone who has questions, please open the Q&A box on the bottom of your page near the other Zoom controls. As we receive your questions, we'll send to our panelists and answer in the specific part of this webinar in our last topic. We are going to start with Gary's mentorship program introduction, followed by the mentor and mentee speaking time. After, we are going to ask your questions. And please be free to do any questions. Every question is very important, and we will be really proud to answer you. It's also important to share with you that this webinar is a collaboration between Young Professional Mentoring Committee and Webinar Committee, both coordinated by USCC Young Professionals. Hey, Gary, please be free to speak. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Felipe. Hello, everybody. It's been a great day for me here in Midwest Indiana with snow all day long. Yeah, to introduce about myself, I am a young professional with being in the Young Professional Committee for the past 3 years. And I work in a lab doing the compost testing, safety, and quality. I am a environmental activist, and I work with another organization called Earth Charter. I am a resiliency coordinator for my city of Fort Wayne, and I basically am avid composter, composting at home, and it's kind of interesting to see all the feedstock I get to test and how the data looks. It's really a wonderful job I have. And being with the young professionals, I have served in different committees, starting with steering committee when I was in my first year, and I've been part of the emerging composter webinar committee, mentoring, and this year I am the mentoring chair, and I am happy to be part of this young professionals program. And it is great to do a webinar where we get a lot of response application from mentees. It's overwhelming. So we decided, the young professionals committee decided, why not we host a webinar on mentoring program that was gonna help us ease out the process, and all the mentees questions will be answered, hopefully. And with that mentoring note, I am going to go over the slide that talks about the application process. Next slide, Linda, please. The application process, we have started getting good response from mentees and mentors this year. The application deadline, mark the date, it's 30th of April. And once we get all the applications put together in our database, the Young Professionals Committee with the US Compost Council staff members, we all are gonna put our heads together and work on matching the mentor and mentees based on the years of experience, the area of interest, and the geographical proximity. So watch out. If you have applied, you will hear from us by the mid of May. And what we expect, or the mentors and mentee expectations so far, is schedule meetings via phone, communicate via Skype, Zoom, email. If you are in close proximity, we have in the past, mentors and mentees kept on meeting physically because they were in the same location. And as part of the mentoring program, we always do some informal checks to make sure things are going in a good progress. Everything is going good from the mentor side and the mentee side. So these are the things we kind of do in the mentoring process. So the is from the 1st of June 2020, and it 2021, like the time. So we kind of recommend this year, like, you know, we're planning on to have a meeting of the mentors and mentee pairs at the in California Compost 2021. So mentees here, or if you know somebody who is interested, we are thinking about having the mentees volunteer through the Y3 program, or we are kind of trying to find sponsorship for different resources or scholarships. We're working on that. So we highly encourage to have mentor and mentee pair this year, the 2021 conference. Next slide, Linda. So that is basically the application process. And so the requirements, what we have set for the mentees, they have to be a young professional per se, age group of age from 21 through 40 years. Yeah, like applicant who is like 41 years of age, but we're not going to promise, but we're not promise like if you we have that age bar. That's it. And then membership is required. You are starting your mentoring, uh, membership, mentoring period process. Is everybody hearing clear? I see somebody is not hearing really good. Is that so? Can everybody hear me clear?
Gowrie, this is Kerry. No, you are kind of breaking up, kind of coming in and out. Looks like,
Oh, am I?
Yes.
How about now?
That
Is
sounds
it
better. Yeah,
clear now, Carrie?
yes, it is. Yep.
It's good. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I'm going to put myself back on mute.
Okay. So, all right. Thanks. So what I was saying now is the qualification or the bar we set for the mentees is the age is from 21 through 40 years, and they have to be within the first 5 years of employment in compost manufacturing, organics, recycling, compostable products field. We kind of encourage people, mentees, to be a member during the process of mentoring period. That helps them to get access the resources and various different things, which will help them throughout the mentoring process. We highly encourage that. And going to the mentors, we always make sure the person is a U.S. Compost Council member of good standing and is actively employed in or recently retired from the compost manufacturing, organics, recycling, and compostable product field. So, yep, going to the next slide, or like next person who is going to speak is going to be Jeff. Jeff is a person who has been mentoring since like 4 years, I believe, Jeff. And he's been in the composting industry on an industrial scale composter for more than 30 years. He is president of California Association of Compost Producers and currently manages the largest fully enclosed composting facility in the nation. He is an active member of U.S. Compost Council and Compost Council Research and Education Fund. He is manager of regional compost operations. I would like Jeff, who has been mentoring with us for so long now, share his experience on how the mentoring process went on these many years. Take it over, Jeff.
Yeah, a little connection problems there, so sorry everybody. And thanks for taking the time on a Friday afternoon to learn more about USCC's fabulous mentorship program. So I've been involved in the program since 2014. And as Gowrie said, I've been composting my entire adult life for 30 years. And that includes digging ditches and sweeping and picking gunky stuff out of food waste and running loaders and windrow turners and falling into mud pits that have all kinds of weird stuff in them and all of the above. You know, just been kind of around a lot of different things in the composting world all the way until the past system. So I do have a lot of experience. And back when I was a younger person, one of the things that was kind of obvious, it's more obvious now that I'm old, but it was a little bit obvious, is that there's just not a lot of resources for young folks to get some guidance as they're moving through the compost world. So when USCC rolled out the mentorship program, I was very eager to participate in that. And I had a kind of a mentor for a small time when I was younger, and it was really important to me. And so I was hopeful that when joining USCC's program that I could just help somebody or a group of people or a few individuals, whatever it may be, learn some of the hard lessons that I had to learn. Because probably like some of you, maybe not, but I made quite a few really dumb mistakes along the way. Fortunately, no one got seriously hurt and nothing major, but boy, there's just a lot of things that there's some of us have just stumbled across that maybe we can help a younger person avoid some of those. Maybe they're going to come up with some really good ideas to set up systems so they don't have to trip over those risks or the people that they work around or work with. So I hope that I've been able to do that. So the folks that I've mentored include different young people that work in all kinds of walks. Most of them have been entrepreneurial and wanted to start up private operations. So the kinds of things that I was able to help them with, like setting up mass balance exercises, for example, if they're going to do so many tons a day, how much space does that require? If they have the opportunity to use different technologies, what might be most appropriate? How do you consider the proximity of neighbors? What kind of markets are you trying to develop? So those are the kind of things that just from my experience, I could at least be a sounding board, and I could offer suggestions. A lot of things I don't know clearly, but I know a lot of people, so I was able to introduce them to other people that I would trust and that would be accessible for them. So one of the things that I would encourage all of you on this webinar would be to not be afraid of this program. It is not complicated. It's really just building a relationship and helping share experiences. A lot of the conversations that we would have would end up being almost as personal conversations. It wouldn't even have to be Compost business related, because so much of what we're trying to do as we grow our careers and we age and all that is to just have trusted sources to bounce ideas off of and just to talk with. So I guess some of my objectives when I did embark on the program was to actually try to kind of build a system and build relationships with the mentors, or the mentees rather. And so all of the ones that I've talked with through the years, I've maintained at least a little bit of relationship with. So occasionally I'll just get an email or a text or a phone call saying, boy, I've got this job interview coming up. What do you think about this or that? And so just kind of building that framework, I think is very rewarding. And it's rewarding not just for the mentee, but for me personally. And I think one of the surprises is that we end up, as mentors, we end up learning an awful lot of things. There's all kinds of just ideas that just are so far out of our comfort zone and our wheelhouse that we end up kind of working through, that we end up being enriched by all of that. So not just enriched by the feeling that we're giving back, but we're actually learning lessons for our own professional lives. So anybody who's considering being a mentor, I think that you should absolutely give it a try. It's about an hour a week. It could be a lot less than that. It really kind of just depends on the challenge that you're working your mentee through. So I would typically start off a mentor-mentee program with about an hour and a half FaceTime call. It doesn't have to necessarily go that long, but I would schedule that so we had enough time and enough space to just chat. And I would go through some of my experiences so they could have an understanding of the type of things that I was most familiar with. And then we would spend most time like, what do you want? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to learn? What can you get out of this? And we would just kind of build a framework and a relationship. And then I would typically do about an hour call every other week. And then sometimes it would be project driven, where they would have some kind of, whatever, they had to put together a plan. And then we could meet sometimes even an hour twice a week. None of that matters that much. I mean, it just depends on what kind of time availability you have and what you can give and what your mentee is looking for. But I never found it to be intrusive or something that I dreaded. It was actually something I look forward to. So I wouldn't think that the time demand would be much different for any of the other mentors that I've talked to, at least. I think it's kind of something along those lines, maybe an hour a week at the most. I don't remember how many weeks that the program is, but there isn't necessarily a finish. I mean, at least in my world, we were able to continue the relationship, and we're able to sort of give tools. Another example is being able to share some of the content that has been developed, like in my world, like standard operating procedures or budget performance, some safety training guidelines, some tips on building maintenance programs, reliability programs, or just like even the basics, like how do you put together a compost pile and what kind of feedstocks are available? Well, I wouldn't mess with that. That one's really tricky, you know, those type of things. And then one of the other things that we were talking about as we were putting this together is, do we think that there's value in this program for just advancing the compost community, either in the United States or in your local community or even internationally? And I think absolutely. By encouraging and teaching young people how to advance themselves in this world and how to kind of jumpstart their professional career is just making our industry more and more professional. And I'm just so pleased to see how many young people are now attending the conference, how many are involved in the Young Professionals Mentoring Program. And I think that the United States Composting Council has really done a fantastic job to bring young people in. As some of us age, I mean, it's just, we can see our future and it looks very, very good. And so I know we'll have time for questions at the end, and I'm happy to answer anything when we get to that point.
Thanks, Jeff. It was a very good mentoring experience you have had, and sharing that is really great. Now let's see what Ashley has. Ashley, introduction bio about Ashley. She is the biosolids project manager with the King County Wastewater Treatment Division biosolids program, where she works to develop new products and increase awareness and support for the county's biosolids product, Blue. She is an environmental scientist with over a decade of experience in environmental compliance, watershed planning, biosolids, communications, and market research. Ashley earned her Master's of Science in Environmental Science and Master's of Public Administration from the University of Washington. Ashley is very active in the industry and is a board member of the Washington Organics Recycling Council and chair of the Northwest Biosolids Outreach and Education Committee, and sits on the King County Wastewater Treatment Division Equity and Social Justice Committee. In her spare time, Ashley loves to be outdoors, enjoying the beauty of the Pacific Northwest with her senior dog, Digo. Take it over, Ashley.
Hi, guys. So I joined this program, the Mentee program, last year. I do have quite a bit of career experience, but I didn't have a lot of composting experience. I've been working with the County Biosolids program for the last 5 years. And we've been working with a compost partner for, many decades, but we're trying to bring some of that in-house and think about doing composting ourselves and having a branded compost product to kind of round out our biosolids program. And so I was really looking for someone to kind of help me develop that program and work with some of our product marketing. And so I was really well paired with my particular mentor, but my project got a bit delayed. And so he ended up not being able to actually help me with my project. And so instead we kind of pivoted. And so I think that's what's really great about this program. You can kind of make it whatever works for you and really define what you want to get out of it and what your objective is. So I really liked that it had some structure, but it was really, really flexible. So my mentor and I ended up just working kind of on my professional development and career development. And that was just turned out to be, I think, even more useful to me at the time. And so it was really great. It wasn't that much time commitment. It was really kind of defined by what worked for me and what I needed. So the mentee really does drive a lot of the process. We had some check-in calls every 2 weeks, basically. Sometimes those were an hour, sometimes they were only 30 minutes. Sometimes they were longer, more frequent. Sometimes we canceled them. You know, it was pretty flexible depending on what was going on. And that worked out really well. And sometimes I had like an assignment that my mentor gave me based on what we were talking about, and I had to do that, and then he reviewed it, or, you know, whatever worked for what we were doing. And my expectations for the program were really pretty low. I just wanted to gain some more knowledge of different people in the industry and network a bit with people who are involved in composting, and really kind of see what some best practices were. So it really definitely exceeded my expectations. I think I got a lot of really good information related to composting, but also related to my professional development and the industry in general. So it was really helpful to me. And I think it's really good to just to be able to have that resource to, like, even if maybe my mentor didn't know the answer to a question I was asking, you know, just to have a connection with someone who can be like, you know, you need to contact this person and they can help you with that. Or, you know, this person really helped me, why don't you reach out to them? So just kind of to forge those connections and share best practices and share knowledge. You know, I always try to be really good about that when people contact me. And so it's nice to have, you know, the reverse relationship. So I think it's a really, really great program. And I really enjoyed being a part of USCC and going to the conference. It was really fun. And I think it's definitely a great opportunity. I've participated in a couple different mentorship programs, and I really found this one to be really effective. It's really nice to have a mentor that is not within your organization. I think that allows you some confidentiality and anonymity that you wouldn't have if you were, you know, working with another supervisor or someone else who kind of knew the people and knew, you know, your own boss or knew you a little bit more. So I think that really is great. It's great to kind of have an outside perspective, to have someone looking at it from outside. I think they can give you different perspective and kind of widen the way you think about things. And so I think, you know, if you can participate, if you want to be a mentor or if you're looking to be a mentee, I think I would definitely recommend it and encourage it. So I'm here for any questions you guys have, but I want to leave enough time for Q&A. So that was my experience.
Thanks, Ashley. That was a very good way of expressing and how mentees got good benefit out of the mentoring program. So we are now open for the Q&A session. Could you guys let me know if my audio is clear this time?
You sound good, Gary.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, we have a couple of questions that we have online. I could see. Is there anybody? Does the system allow the participants to ask their questions? Okay. Linda or Carrie, one of you guys.
Gary, they're just coming in through the chat. So I think Philippe was going to give you some of the questions by the chat.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So yeah,
So one of the first questions was about how many mentors and mentees we had in the current year.
Yes, we have got like a very good response this year. I am having some issues with my device I have.
Well, I can go ahead and answer that for you if you'd like, Gary, while you're
Sure, yeah, Linda, please. Let me
So-
figure out yeah.
If the questioner was asking about the year that finished last January, a large number of mentee requests last year. We had 16 mentee requests, and we had about 7 mentors. So it was really tough to match them up. A couple of mentors took multiple mentees, and then a few mentees, unfortunately, we were not able to match. So we hope that this year we'll have a better mix of mentees and mentors. So far, we're having a good response on mentees and some response on mentors. So we're hoping some of you will find interest in being a mentor. And I'll turn it back to you, Gowrie.
I could add a little
Yeah.
bit to that too, if you don't mind. So I know that
Go ahead, Jeff.
with the state chapters, a lot of the state chapters are actually going to promote the program because we work with a bunch of compost manufacturing professionals throughout our states and in California, in my case. So understanding that there is a need for more mentors, I know that we are going to promote that and reach out to our colleagues and encourage them to spend a little bit of time and mentor. So I would expect there to be more mentors available than in previous years. As this program matures, I mean, we're starting to kind of network out and we'll bring more people in, I think. And I could probably tackle the second question too. It's addressed to me if you don't mind. So the question is, Jeff, you mentioned help with technical things like mass balance. How much technical help is reasonable for a mentee to expect? And I think I would ask for as much as you possibly can. I mean, in my experience, the types of technical help that I was able to work through or perform as actually putting together a budget, helping build a project description to pitch to a city council person. We did a mass balance and actually developed a site footprint. So it's not the same as hiring a consultant and going through a very detailed program, but to help put the framework together and give some examples and some advice on how to build that and spend some time. I thought that was totally appropriate. It may not be in another mentor's wheelhouse, but I would ask for all of that. And if at minimum, the mentor is going to point you in a good direction. So I think those are very reasonable things to ask for. It's a great question.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. So I do see a question like, how are mentors and mentees matched? Is this based on location, for example, which city or state, or is more of long distance relationship? So we always, we have 3 different ways of matching the mentors and mentees. One is based on how many years of experience they have in the industry. And the other one is geographical proximity. And the third one is going to be the area of interest. So when it comes to geographical location, we always try to match people. Luckily, if they are in the same city, it would be wonderful. We always would be willing to pair them up. If at all not, whether has there been any long distance? Yes, there has been in the past. And this mentoring process does not require physically to be present. So with the technology, different ways of communicating we have these days, there are people that have worked in long distance, different states, but priority would be if they are in the same state and city, we try to match them. I hope I answered that question.
And I can chime in too. My mentor was in Pennsylvania, I think. Actually, don't even really know. And so it was definitely like, I'm in Seattle, Washington, so we were pretty far apart, but we just had phone calls. You know, you could do like a Zoom meeting. You could really do anything that works for you. And those discussions took place during the workday. But I think it's probably up to you and your mentor what works best. I mean, I think the expectation, at least as far as I understood, was that it would be during the workday. But I don't know if Jeff could chime in and say what his experience was.
Yeah, we set ours up on a recurring meeting every 2 weeks. I think it was Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock Pacific. And in the case of the last person I was working with, he was in the Midwest, so it was 10 o'clock for him. And then occasionally we would, we'd communicate and say, hey, do you have time this afternoon for a half hour or things like that. So pretty flexible, but we still set up something recurring so we had something we could count on. That's the way we worked it out. And it was definitely during business hours, although we would speak it in the afternoons or even evenings occasionally.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff and Ashley, for pitching in your thoughts. That would really help them. So another question I see is, are community composters or micro haulers eligible as well? I think yes, because they belong to the composting industry, organic diversion. Do you have any other thoughts on that, Linda? Or you want to add more on
yes.
that?
No, not really. You're absolutely right. They're a part of the industry, and even if they're brand new and just starting, that's fine too.
Agreed.
Great.
One of my mentees was a community composter. It was great.
Great. The other question I see, what if a mentor or mentee doesn't feel things are going well? Maybe our experience isn't matched up very well. Do they give up? Any of you want to answer this question?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I'm the best person to answer this, but I know when we were having discussions amongst mentors that there was some concern about how we match up. Like, how do we make sure that we have the exact, skill set necessary to help this mentee? And really the consensus was, in my experiences, is that it's not super critical that the match is perfect from a technical perspective. It's really about building a relationship and having access to other resources for the mentee. So I don't think the technical matchup is super critical, but I suppose if there's just a personality problem, or if the resources that the mentor isn't providing any help, it's not a useful amount of time, then I believe that Linda can work with that. I don't know if that's happened. I haven't heard of that, but I for the most part, I think these things go pretty well. Everybody's motivated to work together, and I don't think that's a huge concern.
I want to add a little piece of information. I recently heard from one of the mentor. This might be, I can relate it to the question that was asked now. So the mentee had a very great experience, years of experience in the composting industry, whereas the mentor was not. But the mentor was initially, before the first meeting, like, probably that person is more experienced, was his thought. But later, their relationship built up really well, and it was not at all a big issue. Like, there could be, what I heard from him is like, it was really great. So it doesn't matter if probably the first meeting might not work, but from the second meeting, things would work really wonderful. It's just basically building the relationship and communicating is the key for the success of your mentor and mentee pair. Is there anything else you guys want to add, panelists, to this question? Can I go to the next question?
Yeah, this is Linda. The only thing I would say is, and I think you mentioned it already, is the committee does check in independently of each other with mentors and mentees about 3 months into the program, just to see how things are going. So there is an opportunity to kind of voice that. And also, like Jeff said, I mean, the mentors have told us that they're perfectly willing to, talk to new mentors if they're, having a bump in the road or something, and give them some ideas.
Yes, so there is a periodical checkup. We do it as part of the mentoring process. Yep. Moving on to the next question. What were the experiences of participants regarding when the discussions took place? Work days or evenings? Basically, we are not the person who is going to say or schedule the timings. I think it's the mentor and mentee, depending on their work schedule, depending on their, you know, they can work together and come up with a timing, and because different time zones it could be, or like different what timings. So it's between the mentor and mentee, basically. Anybody want to add anything to that?
Nope, that's accurate.
All right. So the next question is to either Jeff or Ashley. Do you keep a relationship after the official mentoring period?
This is Jeff, and absolutely. You know, the frequency of the chats isn't the same. I mean, it goes down, but we still talk. And there's still questions that come up, and I still get texts and phone calls occasionally. So yeah, definitely. That's the whole point of this thing, is we're building a relationship.
Yeah, and I would concur with that. I talked to my mentor last week, actually, and the mentorship program has been officially over for a couple months now. So we definitely still check in, and he was asking me what I'm up to now, and I told him what I was working on and asked if maybe he would consider looking at it and helping me with it. So it definitely, if both parties are interested in that, that's definitely an option. I think it's probably pretty common.
I can speak for Felipe at this time because he was into the mentoring program as a mentee. He started, but still their relationship continues, the mentor and mentee. So after the official period, I mean, it would be great to get suggestions from the experts in the industry. Moving on to the next question. How often mentors are specialized in vermicomposting? Well, we have had few in the past, I believe. Linda might answer because I took up this year. So, Linda?
We had, this past year, we actually had Tom Herlihy, who ran, or was one of the people that ran Worm Power. So I don't know if he's going to renew his mentorship this year, but hopefully he will, or maybe someone on this call or someone out there who is in vermicomposting will respond. So it's all the luck of the draw in terms of who applies and who accepts. So,
right.
But we have, yeah.
Right. So moving on to the next question. Does mentor time count towards continuation credits for CCOM or CCP? Carrie Oceans would be the best person to answer this.
Yes. Hi there. I'll come on. Thanks for the question, Todd. You are the first person to ask that, so I'm considering that. I would say yes. It seems like this is professional development, and so we should earn professional development hours. We just have to work out a time tracking method, but I don't see any issues with that. Thanks for asking.
Great.
Wow,
question.
you heard it.
That's a great way to pull mentors.
Yeah, it's true.
Any other questions you guys would like to check with us, or am I missing any questions?
Hey, Gary, we have here, how often mentors are specialized in vermicomposting?
I thought we answered that.
Yeah, I can say by my experience, when I was a mentee, a Brazilian mentee, my mentor was Francisco Niembro from Mexico, and he is actually a vermicomposter. And we have a few vermicomposters also on USCC. Maybe Linda and Carrie could talk about this.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, we had occasionally a mentor who has specialized in vermicomposting. It isn't like the great majority, but depending who applies, we may have someone.
Great. Yeah, we are not restricting like, vermicomposting or different composting, as long as we have a perfect matching between the mentor and mentee. We're obviously gonna, hopefully we're lucky enough to have a vermicomposting expert this year. Any other questions? Am I missing, or we should be good? So to conclude, Jeff, Ashley, Linda, and Carrie, you guys have anything to share that I have missed or any of us missed?
I'll just
Just
close
those applications.
saying I'm very supportive of this program, and if participants on this call are considering it, I think it's very low risk for you to commit a little bit of your time to be a mentor or a mentee, and it's a really great structure to individuals and the industry forward. So I would definitely encourage you to take that step.
Yeah, and I would echo that. It's definitely a very well-run program, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for both the mentors and the mentees. So I would definitely encourage you to participate.
Great. So recap, just a few things before we close the webinar. The deadline for this year application is going to be the 30th of April. Pass on the information to people whom you might think would get benefited from the mentoring program. And if you have any questions to check with us regarding the process or things like that, feel free to shoot me an email or Linda Norris-Wald an email. We would be happy to answer all your questions. And thanks for participating in the program. And Linda, could you share the last slide where we have all the links and resources they can access to?
Sure. I thought I had that up, but let me do that one more time.
Yep.
Can you see it now? Whoop, I'm back on the first one. Sorry about that, folks. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
And also, gallery's information and USCC staff information is on these web pages. If you have questions, you'll find our emails there.
Yes. And this webinar is recorded, and you will get it out pretty soon once we work on everything. And consider joining the young professionals, which I always encourage my industry, whomever I see. So this is a very good program where all of us are getting benefited, and mentoring program is really good. It's a good start for people who is entering the composting industry, and getting an advice from an expert is amazing. Thank you so much for giving your time. I appreciate it. Thanks all the panelists for having the webinar, organizing and hosting the webinar. It's really great. Thank you. I appreciate all your time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, guys.